Welcome to TypeScript FM, the friendly podcast for TypeScript developers where we bring you news, updates, and interviews from the community with plenty of tomfoolery sprinkled in. I'm your host, Kamran Ayub, and I'm joined by my co-host and best bud, Eric Onerheim. Together, we're the two TypeScript fools. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show.
Happy holidays, Eric.
Happy holidays. We're doing another late night recording session.
That's right, right before the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is going to be the last you hear of us until next year.
Yeah, we'll see you next year.
So your vacation starts this week?
Yeah, technically it starts tomorrow at 2:00. And then
Nice.
I'm off until the 6th.
That'll be nice. That's
Yeah.
pretty similar to us. We started just a little bit earlier over the weekend. Now the kids don't have school. Cassie doesn't have school, my wife. And we'll be stuck home with everybody for the next week. It'll be a lot of fun. Do some sledding. What have you been up to this past week?
Well, I have been head down trying to get the new Excalibur DevTools extension published, and it is finally published as of this morning.
Ooh.
So there's a brand new version out there. It's got a ton of new stuff, and I'm going to make a video about it. But I added all of the performance telemetry you could possibly want. So it'll measure every little nook and cranny of Excalibur and give you performance metrics with a spark line, so you can see what's taking a long time in your game and help you quickly identify performance problems and fix them. So that's pretty cool. I added a whole bunch of additional stuff that you can toggle on and off for debug draw. I switched out the font to something that doesn't look heinous. So the debug text looks nice now, which is amazing. You can also change the color of the debug text, which is also something you couldn't do before. What else did I do? I fixed a ton of bugs in the browser extension. I've got a new version of Excalibur teed up. So hopefully by the time the show airs, we'll have a new version of Excalibur. Merry Christmas.
Nice. That'll be exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited.
There's a lot of new stuff in there.
There's a ton of new stuff. Bunch of quality of life stuff and a couple of huge performance improvements, gigundous. I did a little bit of house cleaning, literally. I've been panic cleaning my entire house because we are hosting.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent the last 3 hours in the basement with the carpet cleaner, huffing cleaning chemicals. And Kamran can attest, I have lost my mind.
This will be a fun episode.
I've dropped a few IQ or gained. I'm not sure which. It's not good though.
I thought it was pretty funny. Some of your comments earlier that they're not appropriate for the kids that are in the audience, but it was pretty funny, I thought.
Yeah.
Oh, so speaking of speeding up local development loops, I shipped the new infrastructure upgrades for Keep Track My Games last week. And specifically that it was the .NET Framework 4.7.2 to .NET 10 migration. So
Nice.
I migrated 2 projects so far. The background jobs project, which runs all of the import capabilities and notifications and all that kind of stuff, release date, change notifications, all that stuff has been migrated to .NET 10. It's running right now in production as of today. And then I had to upgrade the test project because in order to test the background jobs with .NET, it also has to support that target framework or, that target runtime. So I had to update the test project to .NET 10 at the same time that I updated the jobs project. So all 672 tests are passing, and I sped it up from 10 minutes locally to 2.4 minutes. So it can run all 670 tests now in about 3 minutes, and that's with a live database. That's with my live embedded database.
Well, that's a huge improvement over what it used to be, right?
Yeah.
It used to wait a long time.
Yeah. So, and it was so long that I just wouldn't run it in CI unless it was the main, dev branches or master branches. So now I can run them on PRs if I want to. So I've been testing it this last week. I fixed a whole bunch of bugs with like sharing images and stuff that were.
They look nice.
Yeah, they look really nice. It's one of my favorite new features.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Should we get into the news for December 15th, 2025?
We should.
Okay, some news in TSGo. Guess what? Experimental decorators support has been merged. So this adds full support for experimental decorators and emit decorator metadata compiler options. So this is pretty cool. I know that, might not be too trendy to adopt experimental decorators, but if your build had depended on them in TS5, now you could use TSGo and it should compile now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's still a pretty big milestone.
Yeah, and we're kind of in this holding pattern still with ECMAScript decorators, not 100% over the finish line yet. And so we're also in the, okay, well, we had the experimental decorators and a lot of frameworks and libraries rely on those still. And I think right now, your best bet if you want decorators is experimental decorators.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Speaking of modernization, Microsoft on their blog just announced that they are doing a preview for a JavaScript TypeScript modernizer agent. So just quoting from the blog post, what does this agent do? In a nutshell, it analyzes your project, looking at files like package.json, suggests an upgrade plan, and then automatically updates your npm packages to their latest versions. But it doesn't just do that because you can do that on the CLI yourself. As it upgrades libraries, it also helps apply any necessary code changes to accommodate breaking changes or new APIs. All of this happens through an interactive Copilot chat experience in VS Code. The tool will walk you through the changes and ask you questions or confirmation if needed, guiding you through each step of the process, from updating dependencies to fixing code. So the goal is to simplify modernization by letting the AI do all the stuff you don't want to do, updating files, running installs, suggesting code fixes while you supervise and approve the changes. So this means that you can upgrade to modern JavaScript, TypeScript practices and latest packages much faster and with more confidence. So that's their goal. So we'll see how that shakes out. There are a couple prerequisites though. You have to install a preview extension because it is in preview, and this is for VS Code only. And you obviously have to have Node.js and all the tooling installed, like TypeScript and that stuff, and npm accessible from the command line and enabled for Copilot to access.
Now, you did something similar recently, calling back to KTOMG, your .NET 10 upgrade used their, basically it seems like the .NET version of this.
Yeah,
and
I did.
How did that go?
So in Visual Studio 2026, and they backported it to 2022, but they introduced this Copilot modernization agent for .NET to upgrade .NET framework projects to modern .NET 8 and 9 and 10. And so that's what I used to do my migration. So I did a Blue Sky thread about this a little bit, but I had a pretty good experience with it. And I would say that it did about 85 to 90% of the work to do all the migration. So that included the same thing. So not only did it upgrade the packages that I depended on, it also implemented the code changes for all the breaking changes in the upgraded packages. So that was huge for me because the background jobs was dependent on Azure Web Jobs, which went from V2 to V3, and there was a lot of breaking changes. So I was like, there's no way that it's going to be able to upgrade this whole project tonight. And I was talking about a Friday night, right? So I started at like 8:30 p.m. I was done by 11 p.m. There was no build errors after migrating the project at 11 p.m. It did it in one night. So I was impressed. So I went to bed with 0 build errors, and obviously I woke up and it didn't run, but I expected that.
If it builds, it means it works.
That's right. So I expected it wasn't going to run, right? Because I knew that there was configuration changes I would have to make and refactoring. But the cool part is that it was able to tackle all those build errors in a single night, and that included doing all the SDK upgrades and everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
You don't want to be stuck in the pit of despair.
No. All right, should we move on to some ecosystem news?
Yeah.
Well, Next.js 16.1 dropped. There's like 2 highlights, I think. The first is that they've got Turbopack file system caching for Next.dev. And if you take a look at their little chart there, it's pretty significant. Like the cold start versus the cached start is really nice. It's a very big speed up. So compiler artifacts are stored on disk, leading to significantly faster compile times when restarting your development server, especially in large projects. And then the other cool thing they added is an experimental bundle analyzer that works with Turbopack. So that's really nice. So you can optimize your bundle sizes for both the server and the client. So that's neat.
That is super cool. Moving on, Bun had a somewhat notable release, 1.3.5. They added two interesting features. The first one is a terminal simulator. So they built in pseudo terminal support for interactive terminal applications. So they're looking at building shells, editors, TTY based tools. You can go ahead and spin up a Vim or an HTOP and it'll work, which is wild. I can't imagine this going sideways in any way, shape, or form, but it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's neat. It says that subprocesses will see the process.standardout.isTTY flag set as true. So this is what enables like mouse movement and some other stuff when you spawn child processes. So that's pretty cool. One thing to note is that right now it's only available on POSIX systems, but if you want Windows support, they said file an issue and we'll build it.
Awesome. Next, near and dear to my heart, they added feature flag support, and this is compile time feature flag support. So it'll do dead code elimination, kind of like the old school, like Webpack process node environment trick, where you would say like, oh, it's node environment development or production, and then the bundler would go ahead and just snip out all of that code. This will do the same thing, but it's a little more ergonomically pleasing, and you can give it like a feature name.
Yeah.
And so like you're looking at your code and you don't have to be like, okay, what is this? It actually has a nice name that you can look at and remove that code from your bundles. It's great for doing that, environment-based features or A/B testing, or if you have paid tiers in your software and you need to produce a build for, XYZ, cool stuff.
Yeah, it's neat. It's cool that it's like integrated as part of their bundler. So like you import a feature function and then you invoke it with the name of your feature, and then that's how it analyzes it. So it's not like you have to use like process.env. It's like a first class citizen within the bundler. So that's pretty cool.
I would love to see this kind of thing like as a Vite plugin or something.
Yeah,
I would love to see that. I'm actually gonna I might get nerd sniped. I might try to make one.
Or we'll find out that it exists.
It already exists. Next up in JS tooling news, standard schema hit its V1 release, which is huge news. And hat tip to Josh Goldberg, who on Blue Sky made us aware of this Bleet by archetype. Libraries can now accept archetype whenever they need a JSON schema. It's 100% type safe with inference built in. Day one support from like AI SDKs, and then TanStack AI and MCP SDK support is imminent.
Yeah,
so
this is really
cool stuff.
So standard schema, as a reminder for listeners who, might not follow every single episode, standard schema is like a baseline API that unites a whole bunch of validators together. So Valibot, Typebox, I think, Archetype, Zod, anybody can opt into standard schema, and a bunch of the creators have come together to create it. So basically, in a library, you can support standard schema as a maintainer, and then it basically guarantees that you can support baseline functionality across multiple types of validators. So people can bring their own validator to your library. So it's super cool for the ecosystem, because if you know about the MCP SDK, the TypeScript one, it only supported Zod initially, and now it's going to be supporting standard schema. So then you can bring your own validator to the MCP SDK. So it enables stuff like that, which is really cool.
Yeah, and you can read more about this at standardschema.dev/JSON-schema. Sweet. Cool. In other news, pnpm 10.26 introduces stricter security defaults for Git-hosted dependencies, allow builds for granular script permissions, and includes new setting to block exotic transitive dependencies. So,
yeah, that's a funny one, because I was like, what's an exotic dependency? It's the ones that have like that protocol prefix that's like Git plus SSH, or even Git-based dependencies, because you can do that in npm, right? You can pull a package from its GitHub repository if you put like a Git plus SSH prefix protocol on the package, and you give it the URL. So you can block those. So you can get rid of the weird dependencies if you want to,
Yeah.
which is kind of nice.
Yeah. And those, in my experience, at least the most of the time I've used those have been in like corporate settings, and they usually suck.
Yeah. It's usually because you want to like refer to a specific tag, and you want to like do some integration testing or something like that. That's when I've used that type of stuff, because then you don't have to publish a full package. You can just reference the GitHub repo.
They added integrity hash for their tarballs now, which has been kind of a well-known way of attacking npm packages. Is you can lie about the contents of a package and say like, this is the hash. So pnpm now computes the integrity hash for HTTP tarball dependencies when fetching them and stores it in the lock file. This ensures that servers can't decide later that they're going to serve altered content with subsequent installs without pnpm checking them, which you'd think that's what we would have done before, but I'm glad that they're doing it now.
Yep, cool. Some quick Node news. We keep talking about the security vulnerability release that they're doing. It was originally scheduled to be like December 18th or something. Then it got delayed to like the week of December 20th. And then now it's been delayed to January 7th. And so that's to give the maintainers, holiday break. And it's a challenging release, it sounds like. So it's giving them time to do some testing and making sure that everything's good to go.
Better be good.
Yeah, it seems like maybe a big security release. So we'll let you know when that drops. We have a few library watches. Are you a fan of NumPy, Eric?
I am a fan of NumPy.
Now, what if you could have a full implementation of NumPy in native TypeScript and JavaScript?
I would be extremely happy.
Yeah, so this is a package called numpy-ts. It's in progress, so it's a work in progress. But so far, they have 336 of 507 NumPy functions implemented, which is 66.3% coverage. They've got over 3,000 test cases that are cross-validated with the Python NumPy. It has full TypeScript support with shape and dtype inference, and it works in Node.js and browsers with the MPY and .mpz file support. And there's no dependencies. It's all pure TypeScript.
This is so cool.
Mic drop.
This is so neat.
Yeah, I mean, I know NumPy is super popular in the AI space, right? Because you're dealing with, lots of numbers and things like that. And NumPy is like the gold standard for like data science type stuff, right?
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
So,
like this is a big thing that's used.
Now, you could just use a polyglot runtime like Elide or something like that and import NumPy as a Python module and then just use it.
Yeah, just cut to the chase.
but that's a separate runtime. This is a package, so you'll be able to use this in whatever runtime you want to because it's just pure TypeScript.
Yeah, this is going to be really interesting to see. We'll see what happens here. I mean, there are things that can't be done in JavaScript for certain reasons. Like, for example, I think they have a warning sign on like float 16. And this is coming, but this is just newly available. The float 16 typed array is brand spanking new in 2025. So this is going to be a new thing for JavaScript to be able to represent 16-bit floats.
There's two other little library watches that got launched this week that people might find interesting. If you've ever wanted to make a PDF, or if you've ever wanted to make a Microsoft Word document or Open document, you can use tinypdf and tinydocx. And these are like real minimal, tiny little creation libraries written in TypeScript. So a tinypdf lets you do minimal PDF creation. And we're talking like it supports one font type, and it can do like text and some images and some lines. It's enough to generate invoices or receipts or whatever, whatever simple stuff that you need to. And then the docx one, tinydocx, is very similar, but it does support a little bit more in the XML format for Microsoft Word. But it can also do markdown to docx as well. So that's pretty cool.
That is super cool.
Yeah. And I know creating PDFs and stuff is kind of annoying. So this is really nice because if you need something, this is like so tiny, it's like 8 kilobytes or something, gzipped.
All right.
Should we move on to some community highlights?
We should. We should. First up, friend of the show, Liran Tall wrote a great blog post on Sneak npm security best practices, how to protect your packages after Shai Hulud rounds 1 and 2. So this is a great read. It's a 22-minute read, so it's packed with a lot of advice. But Liran goes through all of the ways that you can protect yourself from such supply chain attacks in the future. Definitely go and take a look at it. And one interesting thing that he's put out there is MPQ, which is kind of a similar tool in spirit, I think, to socket.dev. But it's a tool that Liran's put together, but it's a pre-install security auditor that uses marshals to check what you're about to install. So instead of doing like npm install or npx, you would use MPQ.
Yeah, and you can just execute it through npx too, which is kind of funny. So you can do npx, MPQ, install package, And I mean, we've taken steps in our local development environments, both me and Eric, stuff that Liran has suggested, like disabling post-install scripts in npm, using stuff like socket.dev to scan dependencies when you add them. And I think I'll be adopting MPQ to do like even more like secure package installs. Because one thing that I learned is that when you disable those post-install scripts, sometimes there's a package that needs it. And then npm doesn't warn you or tell you that it didn't run a post-install script for a package. And then you try to use it and you're like, it doesn't work. And then you are searching GitHub and then it turns out it actually needs to go download something from the internet that's from like a verified source and it's trusted, but you didn't know that because npm did not tell you about that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a tool like MPQ could be helpful because it will audit the thing before it installs it so you can kind of see the details of the package.
And it does a lot of the things that Liran suggests in the blog post, which, it checks the Sneak vulnerability database, similar to how socket.dev does. They check their own. It will do new package detection. So like if you hit a typo squat and you have a new package less than 22 days old, you are getting a version that's less than 7 days old. So when you're letting the version cook for a little bit, it'll look for typo squatting lookalikes. It looks for npm registry signatures. So this is that making sure that I believe the tarballs match. Again, making sure that the tarball is what they said they is. Build provenance, which is recommended now. Excalibur also builds with provenance now. The pre and post install scripts, now some better DX there in MPQ than in npm. It'll be like, oh, there was this script. You want to run it. And more.
Sweet. Yeah, so really awesome work by Liran and crew. There was a blog post I saw on Reddit from Thiery Michel via Marmlab, which is TypeScript types as a programming language. So this is a fun little deep dive into like a practical, like, hey, we're not trying to build Doom in types because that's been done, but like how could we approach, using types as a programming language. So what I like about the blog post is he sort of gives like, here's what it looks like in a JavaScript. So here's a JavaScript function. Like, and the simplest function you can have is like the identity function. It just returns what it gets sent, right? Or what it gets invoked with. And then here's the equivalent TypeScript type that does the exact same thing. And what's an identity type? And then it just sort of builds on that. So like, okay, we now have parameters to our type functions. Can we add return types? Can we add conditionals? That's where you learn about mapped types. And it's using generics, right? And so a generic is just a function that takes an input and transforms it to another output, right? So I really liked the way that they framed some of the language constructs in types. So this is a really nice post. If you're still struggling with like, how can I become a TypeScript wizard and like understand more about how to use the type system, this is a really nice blog post.
Super cool. Yeah, this was like above and beyond like a lot of the TypeScript type programming blog posts. It really kind of got into the meat of like, here's some really practical examples. So it was a really good post. Next up, we have Dino's holidays blog series of making a game. Part 3 is out, and in this part, you're doing the meat of the game. You're hooking up the obstacles, you're hooking up the animations of the dinosaur jumping and rendering all of the high scores and the error states. So, but at the end of this one, you have your basic game loop. And this is all using like vanilla HTML and JavaScript. And it's a really good introduction to like basic game dev. So I do recommend taking a look at that. And it's in TypeScript.
That's fun. We've got another blog post via LogRocket from Jan Sun. And this is types versus interfaces in TypeScript and which one you should use. I feel like the too long didn't read is mostly just use interfaces, but types have their place too, like the type keyword. Do you know, just at a quick, like, what's the big difference between them?
Yeah. One, you should probably use interfaces. And the reason is if you want to extend them or you want your users to extend them using like declaration merging, that is a feature that is only available to interfaces.
Mm-hmm.
If you use types, they are difficult, nigh impossible to extend.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yep. So I think especially if you're a library developer, you want to expose most of your types as interfaces. But anyway, the blog post goes into a lot more detail about like what are some of the differences and the nuances between them and in which cases would you use one over the other. So it's really nice.
Yeah, it's a great post. I wish I had read this 2 years ago. Next up, Zach Leatherman of Eleventy fame publishes their progress on the Eleventy 0 config TypeScript. And what does that mean? That means if you use TypeScript, Eleventy will just work. If you don't use TypeScript, Eleventy will just work without any configuration. So if you're a TypeScript user, if you're a TypeScript enjoyer, and you're also an Eleventy enjoyer like myself, it'll just work for you, which is pretty awesome.
That is very nice. We're getting to the evolutionary phase now where all these tools will be able to do zero config TypeScript now that, Node has the type stripping and all that good stuff. Exactly.
I have a bleed of the week, and this one made me chuckle. The first one comes from a Blue Sky user, Paolo Ricuti.me, and it says, "Tonight, I'm committing TypeScript crimes," which is hilarious.
I love that.
I thought that was funny. And then I have a second bleed of the week because I couldn't pick.
2 bleeds of the week.
I couldn't pick. And this one comes from Blue Sky user dbw.neocities.org. Broke JavaScript. Woke TypeScript. Bespoke PostScript. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Wait, well, what's PostScript?
PostScript is ye old ancient way of talking to a printer. But it's also, like in the writing form, it is a note appended to the end of like a letter. So when you do you do like PS, that's PostScript. PS.
Yep.
I really like TypeScript.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice. It's got like multiple layers to it.
Yeah, it's got multiple layers.
I like it. Love it.
Yeah.
You have some cool links.
I have a lot of cool links. My first one is video game related. This was shared on our Discord. Noclip.website is like you can load in levels from classic video games. One of my favorites is Paper Mario. One of like formative memory is playing Paper Mario 64, and you can load up the models of Paper Mario here of like different levels in Paper Mario and explore them in the browser. And they did, I don't know what wizardry they did to do this, but they did a fantastic job. Like, I don't know if they dumped it from the ROMs or what, but this is fun.
I am flying through the Super Paper Mario level right now, and I'm just like looking at the bricks, and I can get up close to stuff.
Oh yeah.
How is this working?
Yeah, I have to go crack open the source because this is so much fun. And like I was looking at Zelda ones.
Oh my God, Mario Kart Wii.
Yeah.
And you can like zoom through the map, through the track.
They got Majora's Mask in here. Like you can do like you can go look at Lost Woods here. And Lost Woods is so cool. Oh my God, this is so hilarious. Sweet. Yeah, Lost Woods is really cool. Majora's Mask, one of my favorite games of all time. Anyway, the other thing I found was a friend on the Web Game Dev Discord, Crispy, has a Vite plugin. Technically, it's an unplugin for doing function inlining, which is a powerful like performance tool where you, instead of like invoking a function, instead you take the implementation of that function and just paste it inline.
Mm.
So, because function calls have a cost.
Mm-hmm.
So this can be a powerful tool to increase the performance of your program. Now you might be like, well, a function inlining is so good, why don't we just do it all the time? Well, it turns out it's a double-edged sword. It can make things worse if you're not careful.
Mm-hmm.
It's typically really good for math operations, arithmetic, things that are like very, very short and terse, where
Nice.
a function call overhead kind of eclipses what the function body is.
Now, you'd think that you could almost statically analyze that in some cases, maybe?
Yeah, honestly, the C and C++ compilers a lot of times will try and figure that out. So like there are heuristics. Now, JavaScript, not so much. Like, JavaScript, can only do so much.
And you probably want that control to be like, no, inline this one, but not this one.
Now, as far as like, bundlers can't really do that unless, use this plugin. Now, VMs, for example, during runtime, they might come up with any number of things. And in fact, it might hurt you, for example, if you had a function that was monomorphic and the decided that it was going to make machine code and that wound up being faster than if you were to inline a whole bunch of stuff and then your function eclipsed the instruction cache. And then it no longer decided that it can go ahead and optimize that function because now you have too many statements in your function. But like that, you got to measure is the TLDR. But I'm going to be using that.
Cool. That's sweet. I just have one cool link, which is rsdoctor, which is part of the Rspack family of tools. So you can use this with Rspack, rsbuild, rsdown, whatever, or rslib, or whatever the library generator equivalent is. But this is a bundle analyzer, but it goes a little bit beyond bundle analyzing, and it can suggest like stuff that's gone wrong with your bundle. Like it can detect duplicate dependencies. Super cool. I have 6 duplicate dependencies in my bundle. I can also like explore the bundle at a module by module level and see like, here's what references this and why. And this is super cool because I was trying to debug my bundle size, which is a whopping 2.6 megabyte gzipped and 40 megabyte parsed size. And I found out very quickly what some of those culprits were. And I was like, oh, you know what? These dependencies don't necessarily need to be in the main bundle that everybody gets. Like I think I can dynamically load those, or I can just split them off into a separate bundle. So RSDoctor, really cool, works with Webpack, and then obviously works with Rspack. So if you have a Webpack build and you don't want to use the basic bundle analyzer, this thing is like on steroids. It's really good.
Yeah, definitely check it out.
Yeah. So go check that out. I'll have to figure out, still more work to do to figure out what is causing that huge bundle size for me. But this is the place to start.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Well, the holidays are coming up. What's the Minnesota long goodbye? What are you going to be doing over the holiday break?
I'm going to try to be doing very little.
Yeah.
We hung out today and did some of our dream and scheme. I have some video game related aspirations that I'm going to do light touch.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to work too hard, but there's some things I can do to get ready for my Steam game. So I'm going to be working on some of that probably after the new year. So
Very
probably
nice.
Not before.
Yeah.
Too busy.
Yeah. Yeah. We've got a busy week ahead of us with people coming to visit. We're hosting a little bit, like we have our friends coming. So we're going to be hosting couple dinners for them, and then going to family get together too. And we've got some family outings planned, which is kind of fun. So yeah, a lot of good stuff. Now the funny part is that the first module of my next course is actually due technically January 2nd, which means it's due like next week.
Who's going to be reviewing that? I mean,
nobody is.
Can you get an extension?
They'll be fine with it. It's just the first module deadline, just not like a real deadline.
Yeah.
They understand. You know what I mean?
There's no way.
It's usually because, you got to get it in by the end of the quarter. But that's the course deadline is in like February. It's like forever away in dog years. That's how I look at it. So I got plenty of time. But yeah, so. But I already let them know. I already let them know, like, hey, it's the holidays, so I'll probably be a little bit late after the deadline, but they're cool with it.
I think we're going to try and do a little special episode.
That's my hope. Yes. So it is a function of how much time can Kamran spend going through the transcripts of previous episodes to see what's good. By the way, this is the 49th episode number, but did you know that we've done over 57 episodes this year in 2025?
Wild. That's wild.
So that's pretty awesome. One thing that we haven't really shared so far, we haven't really done a retrospective. We do plan to do like a 2026 kind of prediction episode. So we'll start off the new year with some of our tech predictions.
I've got some spicy ones.
Yeah, but I did want to share a couple things to close out our last episode of the year. And I feel like we should share some of our recent achievements, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I brought it up. So I just want to have you guess for a second.
It's a good thing I haven't been able to log in.
So considering that we started basically a year ago, January 26th, how much would you say, how many downloads?
All time. I think it's probably north of 10K, but I could be wrong.
It's north of 10K.
Okay.
You're getting warmer.
Price is Right rules. Is it less than 15?
No.
God, I'm way off. Is it?
You're getting hot though.
20?
No, it's less than that. It's 16,000.
Okay. Wow. Nice.
16,000 downloads for the podcast. People are listening.
That's awesome. That's more than I expected.
Not only that, so we've released over 50 episodes, mentioned that. By the time you hear this and by the time the holiday special episode goes out, that'll be 50. Like the episode number will be 50. But we've done more because we do guest episodes, and those ones are counted as bonus episodes. That's how I've done the numbering. But we have listeners in over 100 countries. So hello out there. Should say hi. Send us an email at feedback@typescript.fm. Where are you from? We'd love to hear from you. We're also extremely consistent. We got achievements for doing 25 weeks in a row. I think that we're going to get an achievement once we hit the 52 week in a row. So we're here every single week for you. And I don't think we missed a beat either. We have been publishing for 100 days, and we're probably going to reach that 365 days pretty soon. We'll get that achievement. We've got over 500 downloads on one single episode. And yeah, those are all the achievements that I see from Transistor, which is our podcast host. So that's pretty awesome stuff. The other thing I wanted to share quick is that we've been getting some nice things that people have said. So I want to give some shout outs. You ready? Yeah, because I don't think you've read some of these.
No, I haven't read.
Okay.
I haven't.
This one is from Steven Adams. This was on LinkedIn. He said, "This is a great podcast. I like how they discuss everything that's related to TypeScript, no matter what framework or server-side technology, Node, Bun, or Deno. If you're interested in TypeScript, then this podcast should be a must-listen." Thank you, Steven.
Well, that was the goal, so I'm glad.
Yep. And then when Dimitri first found out about us, this was before he came onto the podcast to talk about Doom and TypeScript types. He said, "Today I learned about TypeScript FM. Only had a chance to listen to the first one for a second, but they immediately got on a tangent about chiptunes, which is all the confirmation I need that I'll probably really enjoy the rest."
That's awesome.
So hopefully that's continued. When we put out Josh Goldberg's episode on the vanilla TypeScript experience, John Riley on Blue Sky said, "Really lovely to hear Joshua Goldberg's dulcet tones on TypeScript FM talking about the vanilla TypeScript experience." And my God, I just realized that Steven showed up in the comments and he said, "It's a great podcast." So that was even before I saw the LinkedIn post, which is awesome. We've got another one that came in through DM to Eric. And they said, "Hey, I listened to episode 1 and it was fantastic. Whoever is editing is keeping it tight, which is great. A lot of rookie podcasters just ramble and don't cut anything. And the conversation is full of filler words and gaps, but you two sounded like you were having a really great conversation when you were both fully engaged."
Oh, I know who that was.
Yeah. So
I remember that one.
That's part of the Minnesota long goodbye is like, you can quit after that. That's what the segment is for. If you want to keep hearing us talk about stuff, you can keep listening to the Minnesota long goodbye. but we don't expect you to. So that's why we added that segment. And then Peter DM'd me on LinkedIn and they said, "Hi, Kamran. Just want to tell you that I'm loving the podcast. Hope you can find an audience and keep it going. I think it'll get traction. You guys have a great vibe and it's very informative." So I think what we've seen so far this year has sort of proven that out, which is awesome. We had initial feedback that came in, near the beginning of the podcast, and I'm not going to read all of it, but this was from Andreas from Sweden, and they said, "I get to hear about libraries that sound awesome, that I evaluate, learn, and then dismiss for something else. And it was a learning experience, and it's fun to hear about the existence of all this stuff that's in the community. I get to learn about features in TypeScript I didn't know about, and runtime news and comparisons, which I think it's personally helpful to give people that context of like there's multiple runtimes and how do they compare against each other. And we try to do that when we cover stuff. So yeah, here's looking forward to another year of this, huh? Eric, you ready for that?
I'm looking forward to another year of this for sure. Yeah, we have it right now in a way that's pretty sustainable. At least it feels sustainable to me.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have a retrospective and find out if that's actually true. But it definitely feels like we've been able to like maintain like.
No, I think that where we landed on really quickly, because we iterated pretty quickly on the format and the cadence of how we did the episodes. And what we have right now, I think, is really nice. So it works for me really well, works for you. And we're able to like adjust dynamically. So even in cases where I think we came out late, maybe 1 week, we still were able to release on Thursday. So it's nice being able to have like a Tuesday, Thursday release timeline. So it's super nice.
Yeah. And I think that week was like we both were violently ill.
Yeah, everybody was sick. Yep. So here's a CTA for all of you that are listening, all of you in those 100 countries. If there's stuff that you want to hear, if you want us to do things differently, if you want us to cover stuff that we're not covering, you got to tell us, because otherwise we don't know. So you can tell us by sending us an email at feedback@typescript.fm. You could DM us on Blue Sky. You can DM us on LinkedIn. You could reply to typescript.fm on Blue Sky. You could follow that account. That's where we post all this stuff. We also recently launched the YouTube channel. So if you prefer to have YouTube music or whatever, or you're just on YouTube and you prefer that platform, podcast is available there. Mm-hmm. You can leave comments on there. We will see it. We've already grown to over 50 subscribers on the YouTube channel, which is amazing. So yeah. So we're really excited, and we exist to serve the community. So if there's stuff that you want us to do, we're all ears.
Awesome. It's been a ride. I've been really enjoying it. And like one of the things that I never would have guessed is that we'd be talking to like programmer internet celebrities.
Yeah, I mean we had the TypeScript team on.
Yeah, like I was like I think I've said this before, but I was a little starstruck. Like it's happened a couple times, like where I've talked to people and I'm like, I had no idea I would be talking to this person in my life.
Yep. And we're not done. We've got a list of people, and we'll get to the list eventually. A lot of it is sort of due to our time constraints. Like Eric works full time. I basically work full time. I have a little bit more flexibility, but like the podcast plus my course stuff, plus keep track of my games, it's more than full time, like per week. But I don't really count the podcast as work because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. These are conversations we'd be having anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's right. Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to the next year. I think it'll be a lot of fun. So we'll see if we can get to the 100 episode milestone next year and have the same conversation at the end in December of 2026.
Indeed.
All right. Well, with that, have a great, safe holiday season, whether or not you celebrate, Christmas here in the US or wherever, or if you celebrate whatever. If you have a vacation, hopefully you have a break.
Yeah.
So, yes. We love you all.
Go into the deep freeze.
That's right.
Wake up in January, be like, what year is it?
Go into hibernation.
Yeah.
Get off the computer for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Spend some time with family, friends, loved ones. Cherish those moments, everybody.
For sure.
All right. That's us signing off. We'll see you next year.
See you next year.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi, everyone. This is Kamran. I just wanted to thank you for listening to the show, and we hope you enjoyed the episode. If you want to see the show notes, you can check your podcast player or go to typescript.fm, where you'll see a list of all the episodes. If you enjoyed the show, tell your friends and please rate it on Apple Podcasts or Spotify because that's how the show grows and gets discovered by more people. If you want to suggest news or a project that should be covered or just want to say hi, email us at feedback@typescript.fm. If you want to follow us on social, we're both active on Blue Sky. I'm at comronigus.com and Eric is at ericonerheim.com. You can also follow the show directly at typescript.fm.